First, though, let's go back to our main story. They say it improves their quality of life, but proposals to replace disability living allowance are worrying those who rely on the benefits.
Now, charities are taking legal action over the issue. Ministers want to spend £2 billion less each year on the benefits, but insist the consultation process is still underway.
Matthew Sinclair is from the Taxpayers Alliance and Neil Coyle is from the Disability Alliance. Morning to you both, and I know you have quite different views on this. First of all, why is it necessary, do you think, to take legal action at this stage?
What Disability Alliance has chosen to do is issue a letter of claim to the Department for Work and Pensions to outline our concerns. We've been negotiating, we've been consulted, we've been in meetings with ministers in the Department for Work and Pensions over the last year, and nothing has changed. Our concerns remain unaddressed, and there are thousands of disabled people who are telling us, our member organisations are telling us, that they are deeply worried about the potential impact of the changes, and the government seems to be ignoring their concerns. So we have chosen to let government have a significant opportunity now to address these concerns before the welfare reform bill finishes in Parliament.
Matthew, what's your issue with that?
I don't see the point of legal threats when all we know at the moment is the government, it's not looking at cutting disability allowance in the sense that it'll spend less, it's looking at it'll be spending more, even in real terms, slightly. So all it's looking at doing is arresting the rise in the cost of that benefit and looking at having objective tests as to who needs it and what people need. Now, we don't yet know what those tests will be, how different people will get different benefits. So throwing around legal threats at this stage, when there's still a consultation on that matter going on, just seems like a political stunt.
OK, let's talk about whether or not there are going to be cuts, because this is all part of the proposed welfare bill, isn't it? And what's your view?
Absolutely. I just think it's very important to have some facts in this discussion, because the government consultation on DLA reform closed in February, and I don't think Taxpayers Alliance were one of those who responded, otherwise they might know that.
There's another consultation going on.
There is a bill in Parliament.
There's another consultation going on.
What the government's bill would do is take £2.17 billion from projected expenditure by 2015, and it would end low-rate care DLA support under the new system. That's the bit that reaches 652,000 people.
No,
now, Matthew, we've heard from quite a few people who saw them in our report. These are the people at the sharp end. Now, they're not making this up, are they? I mean, if they're worried about it and they think they're not being listened to, that has to be addressed, and there's a sense of frustration.
It's because you have campaigners like the one sitting next to me, scaremongering, talking about changes which are still being consulted upon, the details of what this change will be, the kind of conditions, the way these assessments are going to be done for how much different people will get. And they're talking about not radical cuts in the benefits being given, but about stopping an ongoing massive increase in this benefit. That spending will still, even after inflation, be going up. We're getting so much fiction from campaigners that it's understandable disabled people are worried.
Neil,
but if they were more responsible...
We're absolutely not scaremongering, and we're not alone on this. As I say, we represent 270 organisations across the country, and we're not the only national disability organisation to be very concerned that what the government is doing is not being analysed fully for its potential impact. The government wouldn't close a hospital without considering the impact on patients. All we're asking here is that government considers the impact of cutting support for disabled people on those disabled people and their families. We think that's a very reasonable and responsible thing for government to do.
They have considered this. They are considering this. There's been extensive consideration around this bill. That's why they're running another consultation now to look at how they change this benefit. They've just decided some things, and you're just not accepting that the fact that there has been a consultation, there's been consideration, sometimes the government won't agree with.
I think the Taxpayers Alliance are confusing consultations here. There's actually a review of care home. It's a totally separate issue, and there's no public scrutiny on that.
Just before we go on, I just want to ask a question. So let's get back to the nub of this story is what it means if it does go ahead, and whether it does or not, we don't as yet know, for disabled people. If this disability living allowance is taken away, what's it going to mean for people if that happens?
What disabled people have told us is that of the disabled people in work who use DLA to support them to get into work, more than half have said they're at risk of losing their jobs if they lose the DLA support. 1 in 7 have told us that they're more likely to become reliant on the NHS to a greater extent, and hospitalisation costs far more per day than the £19.55 DLA payments that are going to be abolished are providing for disabled people.
So, Matthew, can I just ask, is your message to people who are in that position, who think they might lose something that's crucial to the way they lead their lives, is your message that you have to keep quiet until the decision is taken and the money is gone? Is that what you're saying?
No, sorry. No, make your views clear. talk to the government about this, as they have, as you can in the ongoing consultation on this specific benefit, and then that money is still going to be there. The government will be spending more at the end of this period than they did last year. Spending is going up on this benefit. All that the government has said is that this benefit can't continue, like the 50% real terms after inflation rise that we saw in earlier years.
We're going to see a 2.17 billion cut in expenditure on DLA by 2015. That's the point.
It's going
and I think
up. That spending is going up. On
the point of disabled people having their concerns addressed, 5,500 organisations, disabled people, responded to the formal consultation, and nothing changed in government policy. So what we've asked Unity Law and our legal advisors to do is consider whether the government would meet its UK and EU legal obligations on this issue, were they to proceed without addressing those concerns. We think it's responsible and reasonable for government to address concerns at this stage rather than at implementation.
OK, Matthew Sinclair, Neil Coyle.